Have you ever felt like you keep bending to protect the peace? But in the end, you're the one that ends up feeling drained, resentful, maybe even invisible. And you end up saying yes when you mean no. You over explain things when silence would actually be enough. And you collapse to keep the peace and end up losing yourself in the process. Well, that's not just emotional burnout, it's actually a dysregulated nervous system. And today I want to show you how to shift it using your breath. And why your breath? Well, because your breath isn't just about air, it's about power, it's about protection, and it's about a way to come back to ourselves. And if you stick with me to the end, I'm going to share a boundary strengthening breath practice. So here's why boundary setting can feel so damn hard. It needs to be clear that it's not just in your head. It's in our body. Our body reacts long before we do. So if we grew up in a home where saying no was unsafe, or the very minimum, it felt like it was unsafe, then our brain is still going to take boundary setting as a threat. So then when we try to hold our ground, our whole system is going to flood with stress, adrenaline, cortisol, fear. That's why you over explain, you get shaky or you freeze, maybe you even fawn. It's why we end up walking away, second guessing what felt right. And it's not because you're weak at all. It's because your nervous system is still trying to protect a version of you that learned to survive by playing small. So we need to change that. And this is what we can do together. So breath work is a powerful tool, and it's a tool that can change everything. And what I love about breath work and why I became passionate about doing breath work is because I got the experience when I first started doing meditation and then taking training in meditation. So I took my training in the science of mindful awareness. And the reason I trained in it wasn't actually to become a meditation teacher. I trained in it to buy in, because my doctors and all my therapists were telling me I needed to meditate to help heal my brain. And I thought it was all woo woo. So I ended up training in the science of mindful awareness with a neuroscientist so that I could understand what was happening inside my body. And it was the first time I did a breath meditation that I started to change my physical experience with pain. So I had whiplash, I had a brain injury, I had spinal injury. And all of a sudden, here I was being able to change the experience in my nervous system, my complete nervous system dysregulation in my body by changing my breath and changing where I was breathing in my breath or breathing in my body. And so once I realized that this was a possibility, I was not only kind of charged, how freaking powerful are we? And we're completely unaware. But here's this tool that's available to us all the time. And I know that as I'm saying this to you, that if anybody has ever told you to take a breath, calm down, calm your tits, any of those things, then it's going to feel sometimes triggering to have somebody say, oh, just breathe through it. Breathe through your anxiety. Breathe through these things. And it's a flippant answer to give somebody. However, they're not actually wrong. It just feels like you're being blown off. So once we understand what's happening with the breath, then we can understand what that means. And I say that to you as a person who has had somebody tell me to take a breath when I was panicking after seeing a car accident, after becoming a breath teacher. And I started laughing because I was like, totally forgot my own tools when I was out in the field and having this experience. And so, how does the breath work? Why is breath so important? So, first off, we need to understand that breath interrupts the threat loop. And so, it does this by activating the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is, well, there's two of them. There's a left and a right. They run from your brainstem. They run down through your glottis of your throat, your first diaphragm of your body. And then they run through and attach and connect vagabonds. They vagabond and connect to all of your different organs in your body. They run through the breathing diaphragm at your stomach, between your stomach and the bottom of your lungs. And then they run all the way down towards your pelvic floor. And so all three diaphragms of the body are actually connected and the vagus nerves run through them. And it is the massaging or the movement of the the diaphragms of the throat, so the vibrational frequency of humming, singing, talking. So sound therapy, this is why sound waves are a thing. The breathing, belly breathing, why that works so big is because we're actually massaging the vagus nerves. And so by activating the vagus nerves, by doing this type of breathing, then we tell our body we feel safe now. And this helps us shift us out of the fight and flight and into clarity. So when we're doing diaphragmatic breathing, what we're doing is what they call increasing vagal tone. And sometimes this is misunderstood. We think of vagal tone as when we are strengthening a muscle. And it's not really that. So vagal tone refers to the strength and flexibility of your vagus nerves, which plays a huge role in regulating the nervous system. And so when we have high vagal tone, it means that our body is able to shift or flip from stress to calm. And when we have a low vagal tone, it means that our system can get stuck in survival or in fight, flight, or freeze. So if I were to give you a visual for this, think of a turtle or a tortoise who gets stuck on his back. And when he's stuck on his back, he's freaking out and he's stressed. His legs are swinging away. And if he had low vagal tone, he'd be stuck there and he wouldn't be able to flip himself over. But if we can strengthen the flexibility, the quality of the vagal tone, then it is the capability of twisting and flipping to be back on our feet, where we can feel calm, safe, and we can protect ourselves, pull all our limbs in. So if you think of it from that point of view, that's how vagal tone works. So our ability to flip and control, have the strength and capability to shift ourselves from flight and fight back into calm, which is not only rest and reset, it allows our blood to come back in from our limbs. It helps strengthen our immune system, our digestive system. This is also because when we're belly breathing, our aorta and our esophagus run through our breathing diaphragm, our primary breathing system. And so we massage the esophagus, and that allows us to strengthen our digestion. On top of that, when we're breathing into the diaphragm drops down, massaging into the stomach, into the internal organs, and 70% of our lymph system is in our small intestine. And so then when we're massaging, the lymph system itself has no muscle system. And so it requires us to massage it with deep breathing or using cardiovascular exercise. And so this is where compression and extension also works, because we have major lymph nodes in all of our major joints. And so compression and release, using the breath, especially extending your exhale, where we are breathing out through the nose with a long sigh, that will help us. We call that a cortisol detox, and we can release the toxins that are being pushed out of the lymph system, helping support our entire immune system. So this is all the reasons why breath work becomes so incredibly valuable. And you can get into all sorts of crazy types of breathing, which I don't. I don't, because most of my training is more towards holistic medicine. It's I do a lot of yin yoga. I do restorative training, how to bring us down. We can amp our system up, no problem. We shorten our exhale and lengthen the inhale, which is what helps us do weightlifting, prepare for like sprints, that sort of thing. So we pump our system up. But most of us are in a jacked system. And so with my work, it's usually trying to get everybody to calm the system down again. And so this is where some of our simple, clear, easy breaths can be really, really powerful. And so I need you to remember that if you think about it as the vagal tone or doing your vagal breathing, think of it as like an emotional recovery speed. So your vagal tone is your ability to emotionally recover. And the higher your vagal tone, the easier it is to bounce back from stress, to hold boundaries, to stay grounded under pressure. And breath work, or cold exposure, humming, laughter, somatics healing, all help improve vagal tone. So breath work is only one component of it. But the reason why I love breath work is because it's always with you. You don't require anything else. You don't have to have, ice baths or oceans nearby. You don't need to go to a class or take a class or do any of those things, you can do it anywhere that you are, including just driving down the road. So the same goes through for humming. Like I said, laughter, this is where laughter yoga comes in. And also why you'll see maybe chanting or mantra meditation. Chanting and mantra meditation, same thing. They're increasing the resonance through the body to help break down stagnant energy and increase vagal tone. Okay, so breath. So number 2. So breath also creates space between the trigger and truth. So if you think of it this way, when we have an experience and we have a reaction, we have an experience plus an emotion creates a reaction, and it usually moves pretty quick. Something happens, we react. And so it's very quick. We're already in a stress response to react. Whereas when we slow the breathing or take a breath before reaction, we switch and allow for a response. And so think of a response is responsible, whereas a reaction is fast action. And so that's great if it's to grab a kid from in front of a car. It's not awesome if it's because somebody said something to you in a tone. It's not awesome if it's because you feel like you were ignored. So we want to be able to respond and be present with ourselves as opposed to being stuck in the past, which is what a reaction causes us to do or a trigger causes us to do, is we're actually reacting from the initial wound. We're not actually reacting from present time. And so that's where our breath can really help us come back into the present moment. So the more that we can breathe through pressure, the more capability we have to build and hold our boundaries. And the power of the breath, so if we think of the power of the pause in the breath, helps remind us of that. And so the breath itself, the whole cycle of respiration, has 4 parts. And the first part is the inhale or the inspire to receive inspiration. The second part is the pause at the top of the breath, moment of suspension, we're absorbing. And then our third part of the breath is the exhale or the expire to release what doesn't serve us, to let go, to give the breath back, to give it away. And then the fourth part of the breath is another pause at the bottom of the breath, another moment for gratitude to make space and to secure our peace. And if you can think of those pauses in the breath to be moments of pure potential where anything is possible. And the same goes with our thoughts. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end of our thought, and then there's a pause. And the pause between our thoughts is pure potential where any next thought is possible. And so the breath helps remind us of what we have available to us, but we can forget when we're getting pulled and stuck into the drama and the chaos of the world all around us. And then the third part is really that breath clears stored emotion. So if you think like the guilt that we feel, the grief, the fawning reflex, they all live in our body. And so we can't really think, well, we can't at all. We can't think our way through it. You can't think your way through grief, but we can breathe our way through it. And the more that we soften and come into the breath, the more we can allow the energy that is ebbing and flowing through our body to release. So instead of getting caught into our cells, instead it's getting an opportunity to be experienced and then let go. I always think the Dalai Lama was asked, he was visiting a university, and he was asked, do you ever feel anger? And he said, yes, of course. And the student said, well, what do you do? And he said, well, I watch anger rise and I watch anger fall. In other words, he doesn't get caught into the emotion where he contracts and resists and holds it inside of him. Instead, he's like, oh, there's anger, and he lets it come up and feel it, and then he lets it release and process out. An emotion on its own only has a lifespan of 90 seconds. It's only once we attach a thought and really a justification or an excuse for the emotion that it lasts longer inside of our bodies. And so this is what I mean when I say breath helps clear the stored emotion. So it can help move through and process emotions we're feeling in present time. And it can also help us remove and process emotions that we have from the past. So if we go back into a past memory and it comes up, instead of like, oh, you should get over it, if we instead we just brought it back to mind, got really quiet and still, and then we just started to breathe through it. We brought it all the way back and just started to soften, to breathe, and to let the exhale, each exhale, fade the picture until the body softens and releases. Feel those emotions and then let them process out finally, instead of resisting and just put them back in a closet. And that's where the body becomes the emotional storage locker. And so what we want to do instead is open the door and start letting them go, one after another after another. All right, so I promised you I would give you a breath practice, so breath work, and this one is for strong boundaries. And so we call it box breathing. And some people will struggle with box breath. So here I'm going to give it to you in a box first. And I like it because the reason why I like it for boundaries is you can think of the box as a boundary that you're creating. So it kind of moves your fence line around what it is, your value that you are trying to have respected or protected. And so if you think about the box, so we're going to build it. So as we inhale, for 4 counts, our belly expands. And I think of it as going up the box. And then as you hold, you kind of cross the top of the box and we drop into our body. So we feel our body absorb that breath. As we exhale, we come down the box and we let the body release tension, the expire. So inspire, hold to absorb, expire, let it go. And then as we hold across the bottom, we can feel the power in stillness, that power of pure potential. And then we go again. And we can repeat this breath anytime when we're about to say no, anytime guilt is starting to creep in, or when we feel like we're close to collapsing on a boundary. So we use the breath to re-strengthen that boundary. And the breath brings us back into center, back into sovereignty. Now, for some people, the box is difficult. There's something about it that feels super rigid. And that's okay. So one of my favorite ways of changing that is to instead make it into a circle or a ring. And so instead we inhale up the ring, we crest and pause along the top, we exhale down the ring, and then we pause along the bottom. So instead we can make it a circular breath if box breathing feels too intense or too rigid, and it feels like it's starting to control you, or it feels like it's actually causing tension. So sometimes the smoothness of the circle of the ring can help bring smoothness into the body. So don't be afraid to play with that. Don't get stuck into the black and white of the lesson itself. Allow yourself the gray of playing what feels right in my own body. So keep that in mind. And so we would inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. And you can try that just for 3 breaths. Maybe it takes 5, but allow yourself to come into it. And if you're present in the moment and in a situation, then even a single round of that breath, just taking the breath itself with intention, is enough to allow us to ground back into our bodies, to be present with ourselves, and make a decision that is for us as opposed for them. It's important that we remember that we are our only project. We are. They are their only project. If they have a problem with your boundary, let them. Let them not like it. It's okay to dislike. Let them. Let you hold your boundaries, stay present with yourself, and treat yourself with the self-respect that you deserve. So if you're ready for more, coming up here tomorrow on April 12th, I'm going to be doing a VIP day, and it's all about the sovereign shift. And so we are going in all of it. So we're going to be doing some breath work and regulation to help us stop reacting from trauma. We're going to be doing some energetic and emotional clearing to help us hold boundaries with clarity. And then we're going to be doing some coaching and live practice so that you can walk away feeling really embodied and not just inspired. So if you're interested in that, hop on over to our website, practicalspiritualismco.com, or I'll throw the link in our bio as well so that you can go from there. And if you have any questions or any feedback, any thoughts, please share them below. What did this bring up for you today? And if you're tired about talking about change and you're ready to feel it in your bones, then this is your moment. So if you're interested in the VIP, grab your seat now, and the spot's closed tonight. If you're watching this after the 11th, then don't worry, there'll always be another. And you can always check in. We always keep lots of different breath work and different practices. I try to make sure that we're doing some sort of a boot camp or a master class every couple of months that you can join in and find some support so that you don't feel like you're walking this path always on your own. So if this video spoke to you, please give it a thumbs up. That helps us be seen by more people and spread the word. Share it with someone who needs permission to stop over-explaining. Somebody you love, somebody that deserves to love themselves. And subscribe, because this is where we unlearn, rewire, and rise together. Your breath is your power. Your boundaries are your protection. Your truth is your freedom. And you never have to shrink to be loved again. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep breathing, keep choosing yourself, and keep walking the path of sovereignty. Brightest of blessings.